Interesting. How life can just throw you a wrench and you either have the tools to throw it straight into the molten lava, utilize it, framework it, bring it out as a usable tool. You remolded the entire thing within a very short amount of time. This is what happens when you go through life and you learn how to utilize all the things because you are a whole being. You are made from yourself, by yourself, because of yourself, for the pleasure of yourself, and the purpose of yourself. Your purpose is your own. The recalibration to your entire internal power and presence of living, the pleasure of living. This was a process that happened to me because of my beautiful exploration of the cosmos and the world. To live in one specific framework, culture, society, and to move yourself into a completely different place. At first, when you enter into a new world and a new realm, anywhere you go, there's excitement. There's the desire to become like that for fitting in purposes. You make it your new home. You create habits and behaviors that align you with where you're going so that you can be a part of. This is a mentality that has served me and is no longer a part of me on those deeper levels. On a surface levels, yes, of course, wherever we go, we calibrate things. But it is now always from the internal out versus the external in. The culture and place that I was raised in would be considered first world, which is acceptance of all of the things, which is actually a very important framework for both healing, evolution, growth, and expansion. In order to expand anything, you have to accept someone else, and then you have to actually be yourself still. It is on deeper levels of self. It is a taking over. It is required when you understand and know the deepest levels of life. It will look very, very similar to a virus, and you should always be the greatest virus out there. Everything should have an element of you in it. Everything in your world should be tuned to you. That is why it is in the pleasure of you. If you brought it to you, it is because it gives you pleasure in some way. So you must learn to tune everything to the framework that is you. This is really important when you are an international person, when you are a worldwide person, to create this internal framework within not just the soulful level, which is where I do things, but also your mental levels, your subconscious levels. You have to know exactly who you are and your definitions, and you're defining everything. This takes a long period of time to do when you just do it mentally. When you really create an internal framework within the root system being why you operate as a human being. What are your main principles of how you do all things? Which is not something that is normally addressed whatsoever in a first world nation. It doesn't need to be. Those things are well taken care of by government. There's systems in place that provide your bottom two chakras pretty well. And it allows for great expansion and growth. However, when you've learned things in those systems that didn't feel aligned to you as a human being, for an example, religion, it provides a framework that is actually very stable, that you will always run back to. But it is not self-ownership. It is very much relinquished ownership. And this in itself cannot be a framework when you are desiring certain pressures in your life. Whether it be financial, whether it be business, whether it be international trade, business, other government. These are things when you are dealing with other countries and other ways of life and other mentalities that you cannot just simply rely on a religious system to move you through all of it and have an internal self-authority that is empowering to you as a soulful being, an energy-led being. Because you are now predictable. You have a framework that is giving your power somewhere else. Now, there will always be an element that is left to the cosmos, left to the universe, left to other aspects. And this is important that you know this, but it is not more powerful than you. That is what is most important. These deep knowings are things that I address when I have conversations with someone, just on a natural, everyday conversation. I will draw these things out in you. And you will feel in my presence that I have management, control, and conscious creation as the authority. It is a completely different mentality. It is a completely different mindset. And it is what happens when you have lived in different cultures. Because what happened for me specifically is being in many different cultural frameworks for periods of time that affected deeper parts of myself. Is I realized every land, every culture, every people, every religion has a framework that all tune to your community. You tune to that. Where you choose to live is actually very, very, very important. The humans that all have brains are like cell towers around you. Where you live is very important. where you live in this world is very important. If you choose to be in a country that does not have a government system that is supportive of its patrons, then you are putting yourself at a higher risk. But if you are now being held by a corporation that is held by the government, then you are being taken care of. Because there is a framework that is supporting you. But if you do not have the very land that you walk on and the government systems that uphold and uplift you, every day is more difficult. This is why integrity is the most important thing that you hold in business. Because if you walk anywhere and know that you are a person that does not uphold those systems inside of yourself, anywhere you go, something can tap you out of your own framework. Because that's what naturally happens when you go from a government system that is fully capable to manage and maintain you on a energetic spiritual level. When you are born into a place, you download this. It's like a consciousness. And it's something that you desire to naturally uphold. And this is why every country will have a flavor. Because you download the consciousness and the framework of that. And now you either get to continue to work with it because it's powerful and strong, like many of the first world nations. Not all of them, because some are named first world, but they do not uphold the first world actual order. The actual first world, the one that has a proper safety net, who actually cares and values their patrons, their people. You won't need to look at that and you won't need to reframe it. You will just have that natural stability that you will always attune to for the rest of your existence. And when you move to another place and you want to become like them, it will start to break down when you let go of the first world. And I know this because it was my own personal experience. Every country has a framework, and it is very important that you understand and know this. What you tune to on deeper levels of your own governance, you will just download it if you are in a country of value. But when you're not, you have to create it for yourself. This is a lot of work. Because you have to be stronger than the very land that you stand on. And the very forces that organize and uplift everything. So when you are an international citizen, keeping, holding, and maintaining your original citizenship is only an asset to you when you are in a framework that actually values and cares about you as a flesh human being. Mentally, physically, emotionally. Very, very important. If you do not have a government that actually values you and does their utmost best to uphold and maintain those laws, then you will have to create those internal frameworks for yourself. This is one of the most valuable lessons that I have learned about seeing how we are upholded in different country frameworks. And it is why so many desire to come to places that are so valuable. There's a reason there's an expansion and explosion of industry and opportunity. It's because the basic requirements of human life are supported on energetic levels. Things that you might not ever even look to. It's also why places that do not uphold such governments will look highly to religion to try and fulfill those frameworks. But the problem with this is, once again, you are giving away your power. You cannot do this and actually be any bit successful in life. Once you give away your power, you have given it somewhere else, and someone else will pick it up. The most intelligent people are not always people of integrity. They sometimes are, like myself. To maintain integrity is to maintain your sanity. To maintain integrity means that you sleep well at night. It doesn't always mean that sleeping well means you live in the luxurious, most beautiful place, but sometimes it really does mean that. Because you also know that you are your most valuable asset, regardless if you have carpet, marble, or tile as your flooring. You are the asset that created all of that. Once you get to this place of internal sourced satisfaction and power and reliability and internal knowings, you can go anywhere and be your own stability, your own power structures. You have to solidify it in the energy, in what most people call spirituality or religion. Are you reading a framework and downloading it? Are you paying allegiance to a flag? Or did you have to create it yourself? Or have you desired to recreate it because what you grew in does not give you the satisfaction and reality that you desire? This is transformation of fate on a more logical understanding and knowing, but yet still requires you to believe and know that there are much deeper, more profound and powerful things that rule the universe itself. This is also why it is so important that you are consuming content that is aligned with you, not necessarily just popular. Because if you are not a part of that specific country, then you are not actually a part of that framework. Money is different in different countries. Currency is different only within yourself, based upon your own internal belief systems. Because currency is different than money. This is why it is most important to learn about the currencies of life, of value, worth, compensation, wealth, creation, energy. Attract. What is attract? What is repel? And sometimes it is much more valuable to have repelled in your system than attract. Understanding and knowing how to create the deeper frameworks that uphold you as you are an international citizen, as an international, intergalactic, however you see yourself, as multi in a mono world. Because mono is you. It should only ever be your own internal framework to have full authority, full power, full ownership of self. The more you do this, the higher your responsibility is. The higher your responsibility is, the more output you can create for yourself. The higher your integrity is, because you own it, you know all the bricks in the wall. When you go and live in lots of different places with lots of different cultures and lots of different things, you go through mental attributes. You walk through things that make you want to be more of yourself. Because when you are you, then you only attract what is you. And the less you know about your external environment, because you go from place to place, the more you need to rely on your energy to give you the best business transactions. Because when you don't know the ins and outs of a culture, you have to rely on energy, because that is the universal language. When you can look at a person, the two of you are communicating in a language that everything makes perfect sense, but your internal knowing says they don't get what I'm saying. That's what you trust. That's what you know. So when you have an internal framework, and you know how everything works, then you get to a place where you can even see when you and somebody who speak the same language, know the same language, built on the same language in your own, let's say, home stretch. You have a conversation, they agree with you wholeheartedly, you can tell, and yet you know they do not intend the same meaning as you. This is something that I do on a consistent basis. It doesn't matter who walks into your circle. When you own all of yourself, you will know. You can clarify, your communication can be on point, so that business is on point, so that relationships are on point, so that communication on the deepest levels can be communicated by the human, which allows you to tune everything in its perfection continuously. When you are unaware of these deeper levels because you've downloaded it from somewhere else, because it's worked your whole life, I can see all of it. I know exactly how you operate. That's why I can transform it very easily, because I have done so myself. I placed myself into a situation where I had to go to every element and see and know and own all of it. It took me to a different ownership of myself, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychically, energetically. I saw and experienced things. And still, those things were the wrench that I put into the hot fire, melted down, remolded, recreated, and brought it out as a system, a tool that I can utilize. This is resilience on a whole different level. It is utilization of anything that comes my way. It is communication from the depths of the aspect of what we are and who we are to the very surface of what we understand ourselves to be here and now. It is the human. This is the highest self. This is the highest self. And when you really get that this is the highest self, you treat yourself with an uttermost respect and honor. You walk differently. You speak differently. You feed yourself with different words and other beings that have frameworks that are in alignment with yourself. Because when you truly get what I shared in the last voice note of how you can be so deeply, profoundly connected to someone that their stuff affects you, you choose very, very wisely, and you take your time to choose people, because the deepest depths that most people don't even know exist is affecting your very movements every single day, from how you choose the food to the words to how you get excited to do what you do best. And then how do you add to that? How do you own those places now? I know, because each and every person in my life is there and they have their spot, but I take over. Everything within inside of myself, I own it all. It is who I am. It is the consciousness that I have designed. Owning all the pieces of oneself, every new thing that I create, every new connection that I obtain, it becomes fully saturated with me. My internal consciousness is the driver always. This is value. My integrity is always at 100%. Always. I expand, I drive. To be of a certain wealth level, it's required. To be reliable is reliability. It's always something I look at in people is how reliable are you? What level do you have conscious creation and responsibility over? That's how much I can trust you. To be global, to be worldwide, to actually be yourself, you will have to let go of all of the structures that have ever upheld you, and you have to take ownership of those places. And then be in places that assist you in creating those well-being attributes. Expansion in those places. Because expansion on the deepest level just rises to the top. always. There's only one way to have a conversation with me. ENYELAH.com. Come through membership and we can have a conversation. This is how we can connect deeper after your internal expansion from all of the voice notes that you've heard from me and the alignment that you feel with inside of yourself and the desire that you have to own more of who you are. Allow yourself to explore owning more of you, to be in more authority of yourself. It is the greatest feeling in the entire world to have these things revealed to you, even in one conversation, as we have a face-to-face through technology conversation. There will things be inside of you triggered, and then you will be able to pay attention and know as to the dips of where I am. And it continues because I'm always expanding. Always expanding somewhere. I always have something valuable. That is a very true, formidable fact. There's always something, every conversation. Because those that walk with me, which it has been me, myself, and I my whole life, and we have always continually expanded. And we always continue to expand. And now we own all of our expansion. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself by listening to this, by searching for something that gives you more insight into your own existence.